So day one of BlizzCon is over, and with day one, we actually got some surprising announcements for Diablo 4. One of the most unexpected things being that we're getting quite a lot of new content Season 2. We also got the reveal of the first expansion of Diablo 4, and we got some initial information on Season 3. So in this video, I wanted to do an overview of all this information, but keep in mind on day 2 of BlizzCon, we're getting the campfire chat, so we'll get a lot more specific information on some or all of this revealed content. So starting off, we have some new additions coming to Season 2, starting with patch 1.2.2, which will be on November 7th, so not too long from now, and we'll be getting class-specific unique malignant rings. So every class is going to get a new unique ring that has one of the malignant heart powers from Season 1. They mentioned the Necromancer is going to get the corpse focus one, the Druid will probably be getting the power where you ult and it pulls enemies to you. So it seems like these unique rings are going to give you your strongest class-specific power from Season 1, which is actually pretty cool because some of these powers were really strong. The Druid one actually makes a lot of builds much more enjoyable to play, and something to note, they didn't specifically say either way, but as these are unique gear pieces, I'm assuming these are also coming to the Eternal Realms, which is important because that means that they will be permanent new unique items being added into the game. So we didn't get a clarification on that, so we have to wait till tomorrow, till the campfire chat to know for certain. I would assume since these are new uniques, they're just going to be added into the game permanently. And then next up, we have patch 1.2.3, which is going to be on December 5th. This adds the new enchanting preview window, so you'll be able to see what possible enchants you can get when enchanting an item, just a quality of life update for the enchanting system. But then we're getting a new endgame system called the Abattoir of Azir, and this was said to be a 6-week-long endgame system that is for level 100s, people that have completed basically all of the other content in the game. And they have said that this is a very hard content that starts out very hard, but gets harder and harder as you go. So it seems to be some type of content that you can keep progressing into and continue making it harder and harder, probably for better and better loot. And completing this new content will give you a new glyph on your Paragon boards made out of Azir's blood, and it was pretty hard to read because it was just on a monitor on the BlizzCon stage, but from what I could glean from it, it seems to give you pretty massive multiplicative damage increases. And I think they're specifically making this for people that want much more challenge within Season 2, and it seems like this is actually going to be very difficult. I know some of the streamers at BlizzCon were talking to Joe Shelley on their stream, and he made it sound like this is going to be ridiculously difficult. And then the last bit of content we're getting for Season 2 is the first seasonal event called the Midwinter Blight that we're getting on December 12th. And this is a holiday event, and it's going to have new quests, new activities, a new boss, and new rewards to go chase. And my last video actually went over the leaks for this, which seemed to be true, but it does also seem like there's a bunch of stuff that has not been data mined or is not known about this event yet, because even the things in the graphic showing off this event don't seem to be things that were data mined. And this was actually the most surprising information we got for Diablo 4. I was fully expecting some information on Season 3. I was fully expecting an expansion announcement, but I wasn't expecting to get a bunch of additional patches in Season 2 that were bringing new items, new endgame systems, new events. I wasn't expecting to get a bunch more content within Season 2. And that brings us to Season 3, which we currently don't know the name of, but we know we're getting leaderboards, and we know the new endgame system tied into leaderboards called the Gauntlet, which is a weekly challenge dungeon. So you're going to go in this dungeon, and you're going to try to complete it as quickly as possible, or depending on how it works, progress the most into this dungeon. We still don't know exactly how this dungeon is actually going to work. And then you're going to try to compete for that week, and whoever takes these different top spots for the week are going to be put into the Hall of Ancients, which is also another system coming, but this just seems to be the saving of the leaderboards. So if you're the first for this class on this week's Gauntlet, you'll be put up on the boards, and you'll be able to compete with your friends, your guild members, or just everybody else in the world. And we'll have to wait for day 2 of BlizzCon to get some of the specifics with this, but I would have to assume that this is going to be pretty substantial because they would need to make something that has continuous and potentially infinite scaling to even allow for leaderboards to make sense. Because just a speed run through, say, some new dungeon they made really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because builds with just much more speed would always get the top spots. So you would need something that you can continuously scale skill. So even if a build's much quicker, they may not be as strong at killing, so it ends up evening itself out. And also, let's say you do really good on one of these weekly dungeons and you get put in the Hall of Ancients, it's also going to save your build on the leaderboards, so everybody can always go back and look at the build you were using to get the time on that run. And I do really like having this split up weekly, so it's not just, say, a full seasonal leaderboard the last 3 months. It's weekly, so if you want to compete and try to get into the Hall of Ancients one week, you can spend that week just trying to blast the gauntlet as hard as you can that week, continuously playing, continuously keeping your eye on the leaderboards to try to get into the Hall of Ancients. And then maybe one week you don't want to play, but it's going to be separated into those weeks, so it doesn't feel like you have to constantly try to be progressing or keeping your spot on the leaderboards. And then finally, we have the reveal of Diablo 4's first expansion called Vessel of Hatred. And this is obviously going to be a story following Mephisto. We're going to be going to the Tarjan jungles, and we're going to be getting a new class that is wholly new to the Diablo franchise. And this expansion is going to be releasing late 2024, so actually a bit later than I thought it would be, but I do think that can actually be a good thing. I think getting a bunch of new additions, gradual quality of life additions, and everything else we're getting with seasons, and building up and getting the game into a much better place to then get a new expansion. It can give us a bunch of massive new systems that can maybe give us like an itemization overhaul or something like that. I think that could actually work out pretty well for Diablo 4, and I think they're trying to give a bit of time before the first paid expansion comes out, because if a paid expansion came out, say, with Season 4 or something like that, there would probably be quite a lot of complaints, so we're having to pay for an expansion that close to launch. It seems the leaks were actually pretty true. So I went over recently a bunch of leaks for the first expansion. There was a few different possible namings for the expansion, and one of them was actually pretty close to Vessel of Hatred, and it's definitely a possibility that when that information was found, that the name of the expansion was actually something different and was later changed to Vessel of Hatred, but the information also had us going to the Tarjan jungles and to that general region of the Diablo map. We know we're getting a wholly new class, and the class that was leaked was a Spiritborn, which is something completely new to the Diablo franchise, and that's something I have been saying since before Diablo 4 was released. I was saying we're not going to be getting a Paladin, we're not going to be getting a Crusader. The first expansion is going to give us a completely new class that we've never seen before. I've been saying that. That was hinted at, and I think outright said by developers in the past, and that is now confirmed to be the case. We're getting something completely new, and I do think that's pretty exciting. I know everybody wants a Paladin or a Crusader, a lot of people want Witch Doctors, but a brand new class I think works well for the first expansion. And I'm very excited to see if we get any more information on this first expansion, because the leaks also have a mercenary system coming with this expansion, or potentially even with Season 3, where we get a mercenary system like Diablo 3 or Diablo 2. You'll be able to equip them with gear, and they'll have their own talent trees. But the most exciting leaked part of this first expansion is the introduction of raids, and specifically mentioning a 5-wing raid that in my head sounds like they're trying to make a WoW raid in Diablo 4, which I think is something that would be incredibly cool for an ARPG. Not sure if this would be something that would require other players, or if they would just have different balancing and allow you to do it solo. But either way, I'm very excited to see if we get more information and how true those leaks actually were. But that's pretty much all the information we've gotten for Diablo 4 so far. But like I mentioned, all the specific information, all the details is going to come day 2 of BlizzCon, because there's around a 2-hour campfire chat with the developers. So we're going to get a ton of information there. But that's all I want to go over. So thanks for watching.